welcome. I have Carrie with me. She is a registered nurse with over 20 years experience in the healthcare educational industry. Carrie is also a mom. She works with families in helping them recognize the dangers of screen time and set up a healthy home screen time environment. She also works with adults, assisting them to balance their daily smartphone interactions with real world responsibilities. I for certain know, Carrie, we need you in this world. So welcome into the summit.
Thank you so much, Malva. My presentation talks about the health impacts of the mental and physical problems when a child pulls themselves into a digital cocoon. And if everyone can just take a moment to think about what we envision when we see the cocoon, that all of us think of is when we have a caterpillar and they surround themselves with this secure, safe, warm cocoon, and they grow and they flourish, and eventually they launch and they go out in the world. That's the typical cocoon that we think of. But for a moment, let's stop and pause and wipe our mind of that vision and talk about what a digital cocoon is. It is anything but safe and secure, Malva. We have children that isolate themselves for various reasons. And because they isolate themselves, they feel that they're warm and they're safe and they're secure, but really they're cutting themselves off from the real world. And they're creating an environment where they believe the digital world is the real world. It is anything but safe and secure. My presentation has simple, easy, effective steps, and I'm confident I can get parents thinking about this, identifying what may be happening in their home, and how to get started in making a positive impact on the digital wellness in their home.
Oh, I can't wait. I got shivers down my back just thinking about the effects of the illusion of safety online, which is far from being true. Everyone, this is Carrie. I hope you enjoy her presentation as much as I am going to. Thank you very much, Carrie, for being part of the summit. Everyone enjoy the presentation.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Carrie, and I've been working as a registered nurse for over 20 years, providing education about various health-related topics. And today I welcome you to my presentation entitled The Mental and Physical Health Implications of a Child Living in a Digital Cocoon. I'm a proud parent of a 20-year-old son, an 18-year-old daughter, and a 16-year-old son. I am part of the first generation of parents dealing with the digital trenches of social media and gaming. When my kids were younger, our generation of parents had no resources, no handbooks. It has been grueling, and COVID-19 has made it 10 times worse. For clarification purposes during this presentation, when I use the words boy, girl, kid, child, or children, I am referring to your kids with no reference to age. Also, words such as digital trenches, screen time, and digital devices refer to cell phone use, social media use, and gaming. This presentation does not take the place of a medical evaluation or the need for follow-up with your healthcare provider. If you believe your child may have depression or other mental health challenges, you must contact your healthcare professional. For purposes of this presentation, when I refer to the word cocoon or digital cocoon, it is not the same as, for example, a butterfly cocoon. A digital cocoon is a dark, isolating, lonely, empty crust, and the more immersed a child becomes with social media and gaming, the more rigid and confining this cocoon becomes. The building and ongoing reinforcement of the isolating digital cocoon establishes itself slowly and then takes shape over a period of time. It can occur in any type of family setting. It is invisible, but occurs right in front of your eyes. I have encountered a wide variety of kids wrapped in various stages of the unhealthy digital cocoon. If a child remains in a digital cocoon for a long period of time, their entire personality, life spark, and essence may become altered in an unhealthy way. It is not a safe or healthy place for a child at any stage. I will begin now by pointing out the physical and mental health implications of the digital cocoon, And from there, I'll spend a bit more time on the emotional aspects and discuss simple yet effective parent steps and solutions. When I look back at how Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter entered my family life, I really can't identify a specific defining point in time where they just showed up. One day it was just Facebook, and then somehow it was one after the other after the other, and we don't even know how they all got there. It was as if they snuck in undetected. And there are a wide variety of physical and mental health issues that can arise from becoming a part of this digital world, some of which I will mention here. Physical issues include eye strain and headache. Eye-related problems result from prolonged cell phone use. When we look at a screen, we blink less, and that makes our eyes dry and subsequently strain. There is also discussion of potential harmful effects of blue light rays on the retinas. The long-term effects cannot be calculated, however, as of this time, as there are very few baseline studies. Headaches can also occur as a result of eye strain and hours of digital interaction with no breaks. Risk of brain cancer. Mobile devices create electromagnetic fields and they release radio frequencies. Excessive cell phone use runs the risk of developing cancer cells. More studies need to be done in regards to a direct correlation of cell phone use and brain cancer occurrence. Unfortunately, it is always challenging to substantiate data, which has often been self-reported by the test subjects. A best practice is to keep the phone away from your head if you're going to be talking for long periods of time, for example, such as Bluetooth. Text neck. Okay, so on average, our heads weigh about 10 pounds, but as we bend forward and stare down at our cell phones, the stress on our cervical spine increases to 50 pounds. So you can imagine if you multiply that by the number of hours you look at your phone, why long-term cervical disorders can arise as a result of text neck. Stretching and holding your phone higher, closer to eye level, may prevent some of these symptoms. Sleep disorders. Cell phone use prior to bed interrupts your circadian rhythm and the natural production of melatonin. Melatonin is a hormone that regulates your sleep, and the production interruption will set you up for sleep problems. Turning your phone off at least 1 hour before bed, using the blue light blocking glasses, reading a book instead of scrolling in updates for social media have shown to be some of the helpful remedies in maintaining healthy sleep. Car accidents. Teen drivers are 4 times more likely, 4 times more likely than adults to get into car crashes directly related to texting or talking on a cell phone. A survey done by one of the major cell phone carriers shows that 61% of drivers are distracted by text messages, and 60% admitted to keeping their phone where they can easily reach it. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not supposed to take our eyes off the road, but the digital lure is constantly vying for our attention. Adults, please be mindful of how you use your cell phone when driving, for safety issues, but also because your kids are watching everything that you do. And we'll wrap up the physical health issues with germs. Cell phones can be dirtier than toilet seats if you don't clean them. Your smartphone screen can carry harmful bacteria such as E. coli, which can make you very, very sick. As I close out my discussion of the physical health issues associated with cell phone use, let me add one more thing. It's an important thing. There are still unknown outcomes regarding the impact of long-term cell phone use on our physical health. Healthcare providers like myself expect more data to be revealed in the coming years. You could say that we are faced with a double-edged sword, not knowing the impact on our children, and at the same time, not knowing the impact on ourselves. Now, let's move on to mental health issues. And these are the issues that I will touch upon today. Inability to focus. Our body and brain were not wired to handle so many dopamine-driven feedback loops. The ongoing stimulation and exposure makes it extremely difficult to focus and complete tasks. As a side note, research on this topic is limited and hard to gather. And I think I've mentioned this before because it's often self-reported by subjects. It may be another decade or longer before we can make a direct connection between cell phone use and neurological limitations as we age. Depression and fear. We could spend a day on this topic, but I'll only touch upon it briefly for the purpose of the presentation. When you put a phone in a child's hands, you are potentially handing them a portfolio of doom. Folks, moral outrage gets the most tweets on a wide variety of social media platforms. We have seen it ourselves: murder, arson, shootings, pandemic reporting. Very rarely is there a positive uplifting message to be seen. And if you have an uncommunicative teen or child unable to make sense of the world, and they're watching all this stuff on their social media feed, and they're unable to come up with any solutions, this will isolate them even more. Let's discuss reality based on a digital world and false sense of self together, as they often go hand in hand. Some kids have become so immersed in gaming, Snapchat, Instagram, and other social media apps that they have lost the connection with the real world. And some of you are seeing this with your very own kids. COVID-19 has inflated this issue tenfold. Some of these kids also base their identity on feedback they receive from social media responses. They equate likes with self-worth and being tagged as a form of acceptance or being cool. Parents are extremely naive when it comes to the importance kids place on these social media acknowledgments. If a kid sees a group photo posted on social media, for example, a party, and they weren't invited, they may consider themselves a loser. They may try to change their entire persona, perhaps to mimic or be like someone that was in the photo. They also may attempt suicide. Let's talk about guilt, and guilt can rear its ugly head through various social media avenues. If a kid posts something on social media and someone does not like their post, they may be engulfed in guilt. They may be worried that they said something wrong. They may spend hours soaking in anxiety over one single social media post. Another guilt producer is participating in sexting or other inappropriate online behavior such as porn. Sexting has become the new third base, and if, for example, a teenage girl refuses to send a photo, she could be dumped and subsequently ridiculed by both boys and girls. If a teen does participate and send a nude, it's only a matter of time before it is shared with potentially hundreds of others. The fallout is devastating. Cyberbullying. This particular bully cannot be avoided by ducking into the locker room. This bully is not put in his place by a recess fist fight, and it does not go away. Once the initial unwanted aggressive digital post is made, it may be shared to dozens of people and simultaneously liked by others. According to recent studies, children and young people under age 25 who are victims of cyberbullying are more than twice as likely to self-harm and enact suicidal behavior. The next section focuses on three important aspects which could potentially reinforce the unhealthy digital cocoon. I will discuss each topic and add simple solution-based steps where parents can take action. Let's start with lack of parental digital balance. Parents, it is time to truly pause and take a look at your own personal digital behavior and balance. It could have a negative impact on your kid. We are our children's main point of reference. They try to model us at all stages, starting at a very early age, and this will continue well into adulthood. We are the primary determinants as to how the kids will use their phone. One of the easiest ways to assess your own personal digital behavior is by consciously paying attention to your daily digital lure. I have an assignment for you. It's easy and very eye-opening. This assignment will not be done during the call today, but on a day outside of this call. And to get started, you're going to pick a normal day, not one where you're on vacation or it's, things are out of the norm. You want to pick a pretty typical day. Then you're going to grab a pen and a piece of paper, and beginning with your very first phone interaction, you're going to record a check mark for every single time you look at your phone. Now, if you want to be more detailed in your note taking, you can break your tallying up into categories. Some cell phones do have built-in screen time tracking tools, and I know that there are other apps available, but the old-fashioned handwritten check mark tallying really does put it into perspective. Also, don't cheat. Be completely honest in your assessment. When I work with adults, I do encourage them to honestly identify a problem so we can take steps to improve it. At the end of the day, tally up your check marks and take an honest look at your phone checking pattern. This simple exercise will help you assess your parental digital balance. It will also help you identify the amount of time your brain is subjected to context switching. Now, most people are not familiar with context switching. On the next slide, we will provide an example and proceed with a visual illustration. So context switching is what happens when you go from one task to the next. It typically happens when you're interrupted by someone or when you respond to interruptions, such as cell phone notifications. It's the secret dark side of multitasking, which is hindering you from getting things done and from spending more time with your kids. Here is a slide with a visual example of context switching. You can see that this person allowed numerous interruptions throughout the course of the day. They checked their cell phone in between every single chore, and context switching, like in this example, wastes a lot of time and consumes a great deal of mental energy as you go from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, looking at the messages and then responding to the emails and then reading news stories and scrolling through Twitter. It can be a never-ending cycle unless you do something about it, like our next example. The next visual illustration represents an adult who made a conscious effort not to check their phone and accumulate wasted time. You can see that this person made a choice to minimize their digital interruptions. They checked their cell phone prior to beginning their activities, and then they checked it again at the end. They do not allow notifications on their cell phone, or they put their phone on silent so that they can focus on one task. You can see on the slide that not only did the dreaded laundry get done, but there was also family time, there was puppy dog time, and very importantly, there was healthy time for self. Let's take a look again. This is unhealthy digital balance. Your kids always see you looking at your phone. And this is healthy digital balance. Your kids rarely see you looking at your phone. Remember, we are the primary determinant as to how the kids will use their phone. In closing, adults have been observed performing phone checks 47 to 58 times per day, though I actually think it's more than this. Do you have any thoughts on how you can improve your digital balance? And I have one more quick question for you. How many times have you looked at your phone since I started this presentation? Be honest. The next topic is an extremely important topic and one that many parents don't think about. While I am passionate about many digital wellness talking points, the bulk of this presentation will touch upon this one: lack of real-life experiences. When your kids don't have real life experience comparison points, they base their reality on a digital world. Everyone is busy, 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 and I know what it's like to be busy. Perhaps you're working 2 jobs, or you're raising multiple children, or maybe you're helping aging parents, or you're starting a business, going to school, changing careers. Often, a huge time waster in the middle of all of this that really takes up a lot of our time is running errands and doing chores. But let's talk about how this can actually help our kids. Let's face it, the busier we are, the less time we have to connect with our child, and the more time they will rely on their phone for alternative attention. Now, please know, everyone, I'm not picking on you. I'm not telling you that you're solely responsible for every minute of your child's day, and I'm certainly not blaming anything on anyone. But I am going to discuss that you are the main influential life factor in your child's world, and simple steps are available that you can take to cement this. Adults live in a monotone world as they run their errands and do their chores. Chores, 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 errands, errands, errands. Ugh, same old, same old, same old. And let's face it, our everyday weekly errands and chores are boring. We sometimes look at them through a lens of dread without giving them a second thought. For some of us, this may include grocery shopping, picking up dry cleaning, housework, yard work. In other families, it may include milking cows, cleaning barns, raising animals, working on cars. All of these are great examples. But what if I told you that some folks are missing a huge opportunity by not using chores and errands as teaching points for their children? And what if I told you that I could help you recognize more than 50 opportunities a year where you can make a positive, concrete impact on your child for the rest of their life? It's easy, it's free, it doesn't take a lot of time, and it is guaranteed to pay you back in dividends. Sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? Well, listen up. Take your child on at least one errand or chore each week and use it as a learning opportunity. You get to choose the errand, the time, and the place. It's really that simple. Now, certainly, we may not always have a child with us during our errand running, and let's be honest, we all need child-free errand running time as well to keep our sanity. But the bottom line is, the more you expose them to real-life experiences, chores and errands, the less they will rely on a false digital world as they grow into young adults. And as your child arrives at the age level of teen and then the age level of young adult, they will bring with them every single thing that they have learned. How many of you are purposefully planning learning opportunities for your child on a regular basis? Check out this slide. 1 errand per week, 52 learning opportunities per year. For 10 years, that's 520. Go get them, mom and dad. So let's further expand on life experiences as they give us a comparison point in determining what is real and what is not real. The very best way for me to bring this all together is to give you a few examples from my life and demonstrate how everything rolls forward. But listen up, I want to get your attention. This is extremely important as we're currently dealing with a generation of kids who create life perceptions based on a digital world, not based on reality. In the current era of cell phone technology, if your child has early access to a cell phone, the ability to form comparison points from happy, sad, challenging, scary, exciting memories will become diluted by the digital world. And eventually, this digital world may become their reality. We must stop this, and we must step in. During these current times, you find many more children inside the house and not as attracted to play. Today, we often hear kids describe themselves as bored if they have to sit by and idly wait. Gaming and social media apps such as Snapchat, Instagram, they offer many more exciting stimulations, to the point where our kids are no longer being creative and they can't sit still without their phone. And as they're drawn deeper into this unhealthy, isolated digital cocoon, real life observations and lessons can be drowned out. When I was growing up, we went outside in the morning, we stayed outside all day. If there wasn't anything to do, we created something. We would chase the ice cream truck, play hide and go seek. We would catch lightning bugs, and we would go to bed and wake back up and start all over again. I ran errands with my parents every week, and I learned how to cook, shop, and be helpful to others. Real life experiences. These were my comparison points. One person that helped me create a strong comparison point was my 6th grade teacher, Mrs. Pucciarella. She took the time to make a difference and change the course of my life. It was at this very time that the movie Grease came out. Not only had I seen the movie 150 times, I knew every single word to every single song, and I sang it at every single chance I got. So our school held a talent show, and you just know, oh, look at me, Sandra D, had to sign up to perform Hopelessly Devoted to You. So I got up on stage in front of the entire school with my bright red hair and my 2 buck teeth and no background music. And I started singing my heart out. Well, guess what? In the middle of my performance, I was booed off the stage, and the kids were really mean. I was crushed. When I got back to my classroom, my teacher set a napkin down on my desk and then a bottle of Coca-Cola. When I was in elementary school, a bottle of Coca-Cola was like a brick of gold. Kids were really excited to get a bottle of Coca-Cola, so this was a big deal. She told me how proud she was. She recognized my courage for standing up and trying something new. And this prompted some of my classmates to clap for me. This real life learning experience gave me resilience, it gave me victory, it gave me courage. My teacher gave me back my confidence and restored my belief that I could keep going. Now, I'm going to share one more example and then I'll close out this section. And remember, I'm demonstrating how real life experiences with talk, touch, and lessons are an imperative part of your child's growing life. My childhood friend, Monica, lost her mother to breast cancer at a very young age. And when she told me, I could see in her eyes how much she was hurting. I still remember the tears. I remember them rolling down her cheeks. And she looked directly at me. Her bottom lip was folded up. She was grimacing. She was squeezing her eyes shut, and she was sobbing. Well, you can imagine, I was about 14 years old. I was fumbling because I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what cancer was. And the unfamiliar awkwardness prompted me to reach out for her hand. I'll never forget that feeling. I comforted my friend. I cried with her. I experienced sympathy and empathy and every emotion that powered me to comfort others as I grew up. Life experiences, comparison points. This was a sad time, and I learned comfort and touch. And this would move me as an adult to work for a period of time as a hospice nurse. The next slide is an example of a digital interaction between 2 teenage boys. Now, I'm putting this on the screen so you can compare it to the story I just told you, where there was interaction, there was hand holding, there was emotion in person, to the same, not the exact same, but to an emotional situation occurring in a text message exchange. So read the screenshot on the right-hand side. It'll just take a few seconds. And now I can ask you, where is the opportunity here to learn sympathy, to learn compassion, and to give comfort? And the answer is, there is none. In closing, there's great news. You can make a difference by exposing your kids to people, chores, and new learning experiences. Show them how to fill up the car. Take them to the vet when the dog is sick. Show them how to open doors and be courteous. Let me be clear, the new generation of young adults are choosing digital interactions and not in-person interactions. We still don't know the impact this is going to have on us in the future. We have to make a difference. Even when they are together in groups, they say very little words. They have minimal verbal interaction, even when they're sitting side by side. Mom and dad, you can make a difference. And as you can see, so can teachers and other mentors. The third topic, lack of parental conversation and eye contact with kids. Now, let's face it, even before the creation of social media and the parental child communication connection was challenging. So even before we had to deal with this current issue, it was still hard to communicate, even when cell phones were around, because kids just didn't say too much. My most favorite conversational interaction with my own kids is included on this slide. I like to call it the fine, fine, fine conversation. Parent, how was your day? Child, fine. Parent, how was school? Child, fine. Parent, do you have any homework? Child, nope. A friend of mine reached out recently about her son, who was becoming more absorbed into the digital world. His grades were still good and he was keeping up with his chores, but he seemed to be spending more time in the digital world, and my friend Shannon was not sure how to reach him. In order to assist her and offer suggestions, I asked her for some specific details about their daily after-school interaction. Shannon advised that on school days, her son comes home at approximately 3:45 p.m. And she also added that her group work call occurs each day between 3:30 to 4 p.m. So in other words, every day when he comes home from school, she's on a work call. He waves to her when he comes in the door and he goes up to his room. And Shannon confirmed that she does not go up to see him once she gets off her work call because she's assuming that they will eat dinner together. So we came up with a simple plan. The very next day, Shannon arranged to have her daily work calls moved. And since then, she greets her son with eye contact and conversation every single afternoon. That's 7 times a week versus 0. In the past week, she has learned that her son, he really likes his chemistry class. He's thinking about asking someone to the prom, and he really does not like her fish tacos. Shannon asked for help. She made a simple but important change, and the ripple effect from this will impact their lives for the better. She took a deeper dive. Parents, take a deeper dive. A deeper dive is quite easy. It means one more question, one more eye glance, going a step further, asking a follow-up question, and then sitting quietly to receive a response. It also means eye contact. Eye contact and acknowledgement and understanding of facial expressions is becoming a lost art. Laugh lines, dimpled cheeks, sparkly eyes, sad eyes, expressions of love, hope, fear, and sympathy are all being devoured by emojis and memes. What can we do? Parents, consciously make an effort to point out facial expressions to your kids. If you're out in public, point out facial expressions like, oh, look at Mrs. Windsor smiling. She is so happy. Or, oh, look at Mr. Jason. He looks a little tired from working all day. Maybe we could do something to help him. Communicate with your kids. Tell them you love them and make eye contact when you do. They are not getting this from texting, Snapchatting, Instagramming, and not even from FaceTime. Exploring, observing, and partaking in communications and human emotions is the cornerstone in life. Take them, show them, grow them. We're almost done. I've put together a toolbox for you to help you get started and to remember the important points of the presentation. First things first, you have to ask yourself the question, is your child stuck in a digital cocoon? And would you know? So take a step back and observe your child. Are they giving their digital device more attention than life? And then remember this gem, we mentioned it earlier. I'll say it out loud. The parent is the primary determinant as to how the kids will use their phone. This is a great saying to pull out when your child is putting pressure on you about digital device use. They will try to make you feel guilty using all kinds of tricks. They will tell you that they're going to lose all their friends, that no other parent does this. They will plead, promise, beg, and they will barter. And I have heard all of it. It is an ongoing battle. I know this because I've been there and I am still there. So I have 2 vocabulary words for you to add to your toolbox. The first one is the word insidious. It sounds a little scary, a little eerie, and it should, because this is the word that describes how social media and digital toxicity creeps into your home and your life. You do not know it is happening. So let's read the definition. So I'll read the definition out loud, and when I do, I want you to think about social media, gaming, and how it creeps into lives. Definition of insidious: having a gradual and cumulative effect, subtle, developing so gradually as to be well established before becoming apparent, awaiting a chance to entrap, treacherous, harmful but enticing, seductive. It almost gives me chills to read this because if allowed in, insidious can negatively impact your family without being detected. Parents, do not allow it to creep in. Let's take a look at our next vocabulary word, which is tenacious. We have gloves in the air for fighting, for perseverance, for taking a stand. And let's look at the next slide for a definition. I'll also read this definition out loud, and when I do, this time I want you to think about your parental determination, your grit, and all the days you have spent raising this child, keeping them safe through infanthood, toddlerhood, growing up, thick and thin. Definition of tenacious: not easily pulled apart, cohesive, persistent in maintaining, adhering to, or seeking something valued or desired, retentive. Ladies and gentlemen, I have another assignment for you outside of this presentation. I'd like you to type the word insidious and tenacious on your computer using font size 48 for insidious and font size 72 for tenacious. And after you've printed them out, place them on your refrigerator for an empowering visual reminder that tenacious parents can crush and defeat insidious digital trenches. Hang them on your fridge and have the visually empowering words in front of you. I'm almost finished filling up your toolbox. So this is a reminder and review of the important points we discussed throughout the presentation. Assess your own cell phone use and minimize context switching. Expose your kids to real life experiences so they have comparison points. Take a deeper dive with parental conversation and eye contact. Invest in it. Have proactive and honest conversations with your child. This may help them to avoid embarrassing and uncomfortable social media situations. Point out facial expressions to your kids to fight back against what they are missing on social media. Take them, show them, grow them. 1 errand per week with your child is 52 in a year and 520 in 10 years. If you are concerned about depression or other medical issues, contact your physician. If you need additional tips or would like to develop a working plan, contact a certified screen time consultant and hug them. And yes, that even goes for your 17-year-old. Parents, we can do this. And you started today by listening to this presentation. Bravo.